And now, what you've all been waiting for, the most fabulous, epic holiday special in the history of Craftdom. We now present you day one of our holiday greeting card special.
Hi, I'm Jax.
Don't forget about me.
And I'm
Sassy Jax.
Well, I guess we are artist crafter makers here on YouTube, and we're going to walk you through a greeting card that I created.
They're all here to listen to me. You know that, right?
Oh my gosh, here we go again. My little voice has a name. We all have named her Sassy Jax. I had amazing suggestions, and it was so hard to decide, but truly Sassy Jax is a part of me, so it made sense. I'm the crafty Jax, and she's the sassy Jax.
Yeah, you bet I am.
Hello, we made it to 200 subscribers.
Yay! How exciting! I'm so excited. 200 subscribers.
How fantastic is that? I'm so excited, you guys. You have no idea. I have been so busy creating a ton of holiday greeting cards. I also have a few commissioned paintings I need to get done before the holidays. So let's get started, and I will show you what I've been up to. I pulled out a crap ton of a bazillion Christmas stamps and materials I have been hoarding all year. You guys have all seen it. Tuesday morning hauls. A lot of the things that I was purchasing was in anticipation for creating cards. So to get started, I pulled out a poinsettia stamp that I got on 85% clearance at Michael's last Christmas season.
I love the poinsettia and all the greenery.
I pulled out my mini Misty and I aligned that on the door of the mini Misty, took out my Momenta archival ink and started stamping away. I knew that I was going to be making multiples, so I stamped 6 panels. I'm using Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper as well as some scrap paper that I had laying around. I think actually it's the cover of the paper pad that I'm using. And then I pulled out my Tim Holtz Distress paints in the Festive Berries, the Candied Apple, the Forest Moss, the Sage Green, the Worn Lipstick, Bundled Sage, and Pine Needles. I think there was one that I was missing, but eventually you'll see it. Anyway, I got started. I took out my craft mat, I put a bunch of paint down on the craft mat and started just using some water and kind of experimenting here. I wasn't sure what kind of look I wanted to go for. I've really never done this kind of painting before, so it was really kind of an experimental for me, and you'll see as I progress through the different panels, I really tried different things. Some of the poinsettias are really, really red, and the others are really, really pink. Some are variegated. I've got sprinkles all over the place, and I've got some kind of blobby watercolor looking things other places.
Did you know that the poinsettia is a commercially important plant species of the diverse furge family? The species is indigenous to Mexico. It is particularly well known for its red and green foliage and is widely used in Christmas floral displays. The showy colored parts of the poinsettias that most people think of as flowers are actually colored bracts, modified leaves, that is.
I kind of like the sprinkles. I think that they're
sprinkles.
I think they're kind of artsy.
Artsy?
And I think they're really cute. Some people might think, oh my gosh, you got spots all over your page. But I like the spots. I think they're fun. So until they're not cool anymore, I think I'm probably going to still do those. I'm getting better at putting the drops where they need to go.
Did you know the poinsettia is actually a small tropical tree?
No, that's crazy.
No, I'm totally serious. It's on the internet.
Some of the panels that I used were like a watercolor type of texture, and I thought that I could get away with putting some water down on the painting first to allow the paint to kind of move like watercolor, and I was completely wrong. In fact, the ink that I used to stamp this should have probably been StazOn instead of Momenta ink. I think the Momenta ink is most likely used for alcohol markers rather than water-based paints. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but I had some issues here with bleeding when the ink got wet, and so for that reason, I'm going to say that I should have used StazOn ink, and that ink is waterproof. I really had a good time painting. You know, you throw on YouTube and you listen to a few YouTube videos, or you put on some Netflix, get in a zone painting and listening to that kind of stuff. It makes for a really relaxing night.
So why do we use poinsettias at Christmas time? A charming story is told of Pepita, a poor Mexican girl who had no gift to present the Christ child at Christmas Eve services. As Pepita walked slowly to the chapel with her cousin Pedro, her heart was filled with sadness rather than joy. I am sure, Pepita, that even the most humble gift, if given in love, will be acceptable in his eyes, said Pedro consolingly. Not knowing what else to do, Pepita knelt by the roadside and gathered a handful of common weeds, fashioning them into a small bouquet. Looking at the scraggly bunch of weeds, she felt more saddened and embarrassed than ever by her humbleness of her offering. She fought back a tear as she entered the small village chapel. As she approached the altar, she remembered Pedro's kind words. Even the most humble gift, if given in love, will be acceptable in his eyes. She felt her spirit lift as she knelt to lay the bouquet at the foot of the nativity scene. Suddenly, the bouquet of weeds burst into blooms of brilliant red, and all who saw them were certain that they had witnessed a Christmas miracle right before their eyes. From that day on, the bright red flowers were known as the Flores de Noche Buena, or flowers of the Holy Night, for they bloomed each year during the Christmas season, and thus the legend of the poinsettia was born. If you have a poinsettia, plant your poinsettia in the area that receives full sun most of the day. However, keep in mind that to put out flower buds, poinsettias require 14 hours of complete darkness each day for 6 to 8 weeks before flowering. Any interruption to this dark period can delay or prevent the plant from flowering. How long does a poinsettia plant live? A quality plant in the right location that is well cared for can stay in bloom for up to 6 months. But that is unusual. Most poinsettias will last 4 to 6 weeks before the flowers begin to fall off.
My mother is the most epic poinsettia lady. She literally could keep a poinsettia alive forever, and she would put it in the closet when it was dormant so it would stay alive. Then she would pull it out and it would turn red again. Once I got through all the painting and set those aside to dry, I pulled out a bunch of card bases that I've been holding on to for a year. I got these card bases that Tuesday morning for nothing, and I got a lot of them. So I was really grateful to have them on hand, and I took out my Fisker's bone folder and I went to town scoring that thing on the fold. And yes, even though I had a fold and everything was factory cut, this girl folded them crooked and I broke a nail.
Seriously, gosh!
I pulled out a pen and I started outlining it just to see what that would look like, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't do it to every single piece. You can see that there are some pieces around this card that I'd die cut for other cards that I'm going to be making in the future.
Despite rumors to the contrary, poinsettias are not poisonous. While poinsettias are commonly hyped as poisonous plants, they rarely are, and the poisoning is greatly exaggerated. When ingested, mild signs of vomiting, drooling, or rarely diarrhea may be seen. If the milky sap is exposed to the skin, dermal irritation, including redness, swelling, and itchiness, may develop.
Then I took out my Versamark ink and used the Season's Greeting stamp and filled that up with some sticky embossing ink, positioned it on the card, stamped it, and then I took out some metallic gold embossing powder that I just got from my really good friend Jan. Thank you, Jan. I decided I was gonna do all of the embossing the same on all 6 cards. So you can kind of see here I'm doing an assembly line process. When the embossing didn't work out all the way, I took out a dry brush and brushed off what was needed. Towards the end, I remembered to just use my anti-static powder, and that alleviated that problem altogether, which is great. Then I took out my heat gun and I heated up each of the sentiments, as you can see here, and melted that embossing powder down for a beautiful finish. I took out my T-square to make sure that each of the card fronts are the same size, and I trimmed them down with my Westcott titanium trimmer, and I made sure that each panel was 4 by 5 and a quarter. You can see here that I definitely was using just some scrap paper that I had laying around, and I wanted to trim that down to make sure it was even. And I took out my ATG gun and put some double-sided tape down and attached that to the base of the card 6 times. I can't resist. I had to take out some glitter. I couldn't just leave it as is. I probably should have, but this girl likes her bling, and I arranged them 100 bazillion times.
Like always.
And got those to a place where I felt comfortable with them, and took out my matte gel medium and my pick-me-up tool and attached them to the face. And here you have it, folks. Season's Greetings with the poinsettia stamp that I got on clearance super long time ago with my super clearance card bases from Tuesday morning and my Tuesday morning hauls. You can't go wrong. You just always have to be looking for the deals. I mean, this makes me happy for the holiday season, and I hope it inspires you. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, love you guts. Bye.
that concludes the most epic holiday special you've ever seen in your whole entire life.
Well, I don't know if it was the most epic thing that they've ever seen.
No, it truly was the most epic thing.
Oh my gosh.